Hey, this is Sanyam Bhutani, and you're listening to Chai Time Data Science, a podcast for data science enthusiasts where I interview practitioners, researchers, and Kagglers about their journey, experience, and talk all things about data science. Hello and welcome to Quarantine Content with Kaggle Heroes. In this episode, I interview the new King of Kaggle Competitions, the new number one in the world, Dr. Guanshuo Xu, who has just become, as I said, who has just achieved the title or the rank first in competitions tier with his win in Alaska2 Image Steganalysis competition. Guanshuo has 15 gold medals, 15 silver medals. Out of these, 10 are solo gold, 13 are solo silvers. And we talk about his journey and his addiction, if I may, to Kaggle. He shares a few advices around how you should approach Kaggle and how he has approached and how his approach has changed, how he approaches competition and how he learned over the period of competing over many one. We also briefly discuss his solution to the Alaska2 competition as a proxy to understanding his approach to competitions. We also talk about his role at S2O.ai and the projects that he's contributing to. Now, without further ado, here's my interview with the new number one on Kaggle competitions, Guanshuo Xu. Please enjoy the show. I am honored to be talking to the new number one of Kaggle competitions, Guanshuo Xu. Guanshuo, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm honored to be speaking to you. If we were doing this in the real world, I would have given you an award. I know there's no ceremony on Kaggle, but do you have any interesting memories from becoming the best, maybe an acceptance speech of sorts for a virtual Chai Time award?
Interesting memory. I really don't have some interesting memory, but I do. The most impression I have on the Kaggle is how much I improve every day, every week, every month, and every year. And I feel that I'm better in understanding and applying machine learning when competing on Kaggle. So people say that Kaggle is a great place or the best place for learning or practicing machine learning or predictive modeling. I have to say that's true. So, yeah.
How would you describe the feeling? You're the best in the world as of today. How would you describe the feeling?
Of course, I'm very excited. So, but I mean, the feeling is, my feeling is also a little bit mixed because, of course I'm excited, but there are many great Kagglers. They are working hard. They're so good and so difficult to compete. So once you get something, you don't want to lose it. So keep the rank is extremely difficult. I feel like with a little bit more pressure, more stressed.
Okay, interesting. So I want to go back to your journey now. Going back to your early days, why did you pick up machine learning? I think you started with computer vision, but why did you get interested in computer vision?
Actually, it was all from about 10 years ago. I started my PhD research, and we mainly worked on machine learning on image data. So we learn a lot of stuff. We use a lot of stuff in the computer vision field. So that's how I started. And yeah, about 5 years ago, I think 5 or 6 years ago, I learned about deep learning. So I started my at that time I started my last project of my PhD that is using deep learning, applying deep learning to my research topic. That's when I started deep learning.
Can you tell us more about your research? Because I know your last competition was very similar, I think, to your research.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in plain language, you're talking about my PhD research,
Yes.
right? My PhD research was about given in a digital image. We're trying to find the source camera model that took the image, or the exact camera that took the image, or we try to find out if an image has been tampered, or the content has been modified by some existing photo editing software like Photoshop.
Mhm.
And we also do something like detecting if an image has some secret message embedded in it, which is called Steganalysis. So this is the topic that it's the exactly same topic that I just won last competition. It's called Alaska2 Staganalysis competition. So I feel that I'm a little bit lucky here that I because I can be considered a domain expert, and also Kaggle grandmaster, so I have the advantage here.
Also now the number one in the world. So you mentioned this can be used to detect photoshopped images. Can it be used to check if Instagrammers are using filters?
Yes. There's a branch of research in this field that is to detect the photo editing history of I mean, it's generally a multi-class classification problem. So yes, there's something like that, but I haven't performed that during my PhD research. But yeah,
Young teenagers are getting afraid. So I also want to talk about I'm curious, how did you get addicted to Kaggle? I remember going through your post. I read you started with Cafe 2 and MATLAB. At what point did you get addicted to Kaggle?
yeah. Actually, I don't remember how I heard of Kaggle, but once I started competing on it, I was already addicted to it. I mean, um, I can't describe the feeling. I mean, I feel that I'm very suitable for this type of competitions rather than doing research, be a researcher, because you don't need to be judged by others.
Yeah.
It's just a single number. You need to maximize it. You can win if you're the best. At that, I heard of Kaggle about I think about 5 years ago. So I started it, and the first competition, I really I was very serious on it, but I didn't do well. I dropped a lot. I remember it's the Santander customer satisfaction.
Okay.
Yes, it's the Santander competition, and it's a tricky one. And at that time, I mainly apply machine learning on image data, so I haven't touched any tabular data, but I think I mean, they should be similar. They are machine learning predictive modeling, but failed miserably. I mean, yeah. Um, so at that time, I just convinced myself that I want to do better. I want to win competitions one day. And I haven't thought of getting number one at that time. Maybe just get a gold medal or get more gold medals at that time. And yeah, I also started to compete in other competition like computer vision, which I'm more familiar with. Um, at the time, I still use Cafe, not Cafe 2, by the way. It's Cafe.
Okay.
Yeah, Cafe 2 was more recent. but because at that time when I do deep learning research about 6 years ago, TensorFlow or I'm not sure there's Torch or not. I don't remember. Caffe was the most popular tool for research anyway. So at that time, I use Caffe. I'm more familiar with Caffe and use it to compete on Kaggle. And I feel that I don't have an advantage because it's hard to. Because at the time when I compete on Kaggle, there's already other tools like TensorFlow or Keras. So people those competitors they're using Keras. It's very easy to use, and I also started to use Keras, and until now until I think 1 years ago I started to use PyTorch because it's more flexible. I want to do more, and I found that it's easier to win competitions with PyTorch. Yeah, I mean, it's natural when you start to doing things well, like you get more gold medals, you win more competitions, you will get confidence, you will be more happily doing this every day. So yeah, I think it's more natural.
How did after you competed in your first competition, how did your approach change, and how did you try to improve, as you mentioned you wanted to improve?
So the most helpful, I think, is to read the winner solutions. Of course, I mean, it differs from person to person. It depends on your knowledge on machine learning or the domain topics. For me, it's very helpful. It's the most helpful actually to read the winning solutions. I mainly learn from them, and but I don't want to misguide, but for beginners, maybe they should take some basic lectures before doing competition, or they can take lectures machine learning. I mean, machine learning along with competing. So for me, because I have some experience, I have actually 4 or 5 years. I had 4 or 5 years before my first Kaggle competition. So I only need to read the winner's solution. Then it's more quicker for me to adapt.
Right.
Experience.
Were you also trying to replicate them by yourself? Not all winners share their code. Were you also trying to
Not really, not really. I almost never try to run it. I just because I understand that not every solution sharing they share everything. So they people the winners mainly share I mean the final successful experimental results. So and they use their own applications, own platforms. So it may be hard to replicate, but for me, to understanding some key parts of them of the solutions is important. I want to see what is the key part they have in their solution to win the competitions. Sometimes it's just one or two key parts. The way I can share one thing is that when I read those solutions in, let's say, in a competition, I try to find what is common in them. So yeah, it's a combined learning from all the solutions, and I focus on this because not every technique in their winning solutions helpful. So I focus on the most important part.
Okay. So you achieved 10 solo gold medals, 13 solo silver medals. How do you do it? What's your secret to time management and managing Kaggle?
Actually, I didn't even realize I have 10 solo gold. I only remember I have 14 or 15 gold medals. Yeah, but
Just like that.
I do solo more than team. So yeah, it's natural that I have more solo gold medals. I think For time management, there's no secret for me. It's just hard work, spending more time on it, and I don't believe. I think some people are more talented, but no matter how gifted you are, you have to spend a lot of time on it to do well on competition. So if we are given limited time, every of us have limited time. The for me, maybe the only secret, the only trick I can think of is to focus on the most important part. It applies for learning, for competitions. When you do competition, there are so many things to optimize. You want to try so many stuff, but you have limited time. It's similar for the whole career journey, or for when you do a single competition, you have limited time. So you need to identify what is the most important and devote time on it.
So I also try to understand how great Kaggle's approach competitions. I'd like to use your recent win to help understand your process. So if you could maybe start by telling us more about why did you get interested in the competition, and the title is Alaska2 Image Steganalysis.
Oh, yeah. Like I just said, this one is almost same as my last PhD research topic. So I see this as I saw this as a chance to get the number one. I have domain knowledge. I'm familiar with computer vision techniques, so I'm actually good at it. So I have more chance to win in that case. And actually for the Alaska competition, I started very early, almost 2 months before I start. I have done it. I think I started almost 2 months before the end of the competition. And normally, usually, I don't spend so much time on a single competition, but I was very serious in it. I want to get number one. I saw this as a chance. So yeah, I even gave up some competitions which I was interested in at the time because my time and computing sources are limited, so I want to focus on it.
So do you usually, you mentioned you enter competition towards the later, and most of the times, is that the case?
Uh, it varies. For some competition, I may enter 4 or 6 weeks before it ends. For some, I may enter 2 weeks before it ends. So if it depends case to case. For some competitions, I want to actually win it. For some competitions, I just want to compete to get familiar with the topic and to learn something. And yeah, that's for some competition. For these competitions, I will only enter 1 or 2 weeks before the deadline, because you want to actually get your hands dirty on that topic to better understand the winner solutions sometimes. But for now, I mainly focus on the competitions I can win.
It's a walk in a park for you. You can already figure it out. But can you share your general approach to competitions? How does a pipeline for you look like once you decide you want to win a competition?
Uh, General approach. Um, if I enter a competition for learning, it's more like freestyle. I yeah, I can duplicate some kernels. Maybe I can rely on others' work. For competitions, I want to win. One thing maybe special is I always want to do something special, or find some of my own method, or that has not been discovered by other competitors, because I believe that because if we all used similar methods or techniques, it will be easier to, the competition will become an ensemble war or hyperparameter tuning war. That would make it almost impossible for someone to win it, to outstand. I mean, so to win a competition, my way is to always find something special. Use some methods that the others don't know or didn't discover.
So people think grandmasters have this huge, humongous servers. Can you share your hardware setup and maybe the specifications?
Yes, it's true for me. I have good hardware. For Alaska competition, I used my main dev box is 4 RTX Titans,
Okay.
which has which is almost the most advanced GPU. Only worse than, a little bit worse than the Tesla V100, I think. And I also have I also used two 2080 Ti's to to get my model. Because I developed 2 kinds of models. For the second model, I actually purchased another 2 2080 Ti to run the second model. So because it's very for computer vision competitions or NLP, natural language processing competitions, computing resource is very important. It doesn't guarantee a win, but it would be almost impossible if you don't have good hardware.
Correct.
It's an essential component.
Totally.
And I believe that it's a very worthy investment.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because once you win a competition, all the money will be back. So.
if someone has the knowledge and the power to win a competition. So I'd love to know more about your solution. Maybe you can also share your approach to this competition, since you said it varies a lot. I'm talking about the Alaska2 competition.
You're talking just Alaska2? Yeah. For Alaska2, when I started competition, I see that people, the other competitors, were sharing their success with they use efficient nets, which is special network structure recently developed by Google, and they share their success. I also tried that, and I also tried what I believe should work well according to my prior knowledge, and I found that my model actually use a very simple model, SC-ResNet 18, which is a very small model, but I make some adjustment to the architecture to make it more suitable for the stack analysis topic. That's mainly contributed by my domain knowledge. So I compared these two, and I found that deficient net is was actually performing a little bit worse on the validation, but on the leaderboard, on the public leaderboard, it does has some advantage. So it's more about, at the time, it's more about what you want to trust. So you want to trust the public leaderboard or your validation. So I decided to trust my local validation. So I can, even though the efficient nets is a little bit worse, I can still blend it. But like what I just said, I want to do something different from others. so I don't want my prediction to be too close to others, because I want to win it. So I gave up all my experiments on the efficient nets. I stick to my model, and at the late stage of the competition, I added a model from a different domain. I model it from a different domain, which is the DCT domain of the JPEG image, because because the steganography, when they embed message, they randomly add one or -1 to the DCT coefficients on some pixels. So that's the domain that the modification actually happened. So I figure it may be I can get some extra information from the DCT domain and when I combine the spatial domain model with the DCT domain model, I can get some improvement. So yeah, that's my method.
Okay. And if you could just give a brief overview of your final solution that made it to the winning zone.
Yeah. Well, actually, I that's almost all I can share. But in the final solution, I run I ensemble more models, use different local validation split. That helps my final boost because I remember that the day before my ensemble, I was ranking like 30, 40, something like that on the public leaderboard. And
Even
when
the
I
host had shared that during the last 1 hour, you made a submission and you shared that your model finished training towards the last hour.
Yeah, it was he was a he was at yeah, he shared that he saw my jump in the last day, but it was just the ensemble, not any special. I didn't make any special change to my model. It just blended more models. So
Okay.
usually I'll get improvements because I believe that before the ensemble, I should be already on the top of the private leaderboard, but the margin is not big enough. So when he see my final solution, final ensembles, he said he know the the game was over. So cool.
Okay. Do you have any, you trusted your CV in this competition. How do you create a CV strategy in general or any tips for creating a CV?
uh, I don't have. It's not very special actually. Just random. I didn't do a full cross validation. I just random do a holdout split train validation split, and I do it multiple times. Um, my validation did not cover the whole training set, so I can't say this is a full cross validation, but it should be similar for this competition. I think during doing just a single train validation holdout split should be enough, but we can get some extra performance if we do a more random split.
Okay.
So for this competition, one difficulty, the major difficulty is to decide how to validate. People, some competitors focus more on the public leaderboard. It varies from competition to competition. I mean, sometimes you want to trust your local validation. Sometimes you want to trust the public leaderboard. Sometimes you can trust nothing because it depends on the purpose of the competition. If for machine learning competitions, it's not like in the textbook that we make assumptions that train and test are similar or they're from similar distributions, something like that. For machine learning competitions, things are different. For the Alaska competition, I figured out that my guess was the training data and testing data should be from same distribution. So it's safe to trust it's actually better to trust the validation because the organizers made the test data too small. So which means there's high variance during if you make the test data too small. So it's easier for you to overfit it if you tune using the public leaderboard. It only has, I remember, it only has 1,000 images on the public leader, but in your validation, you have like, in your training data, we have like 300,000.
Hmm.
Yeah, 300,000 images. So yeah, it makes sense to trust the validation. But for some competitions, training and testing could be different. So yeah, so in that case, maybe we can also we can if public and the private leaderboard are similar, we can trust the public leaderboard as long as the data set is not, the public test set is not too small. For some competitions, you can, like the Bengali classification competition, the organizer made clear there's unseen data. You can still simulate in your local validation the unseen classes, but there's no way to fully mimic the test data.
Right.
So it's for some competition it's more tricky.
And I think which is why reading how winners approach the problem, or just generally competing in more competition, might be helpful to get a better idea of how to do CV.
Uh, I yeah, of course, of course, this is true. Yeah, but I think that we, I don't know how, for me, it's more about understanding what I'm doing. I mean, when I do CV split, when I do cross validation, I mean, I make, maybe I made the assumption that private and train and test are from same distribution. If I prop the leaderboard, maybe my guess is the leaderboard gave me a better feedback than my validation. I think for me it depends. That's why I'm not 100%. I won't give you 100% answer on trusting this cross validation, because sometimes you don't want to do it. You need to know what are you doing. What you need to foresee what is in the private data set, private test set. That's mostly because that's the only thing we want to optimize, right, to win competitions. One thing we need to remember is no matter how good your cross validation is or how good your validation strategy is, it does not give you a better model, right? You still need to have a better model to win. It's not the cross validation that wins the competition.
Totally. And do you usually, for the final two submissions, do you also take one that trusts your CV, and is your approach different, or do you like put a submission where you trust your CV and the another one is more of a gamble?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it's better to do that for if we have two submissions. But in most of the times, for most of the times, I don't have two submissions, to be honest.
Okay.
So yeah, you need to have one. You need to have two very different solutions or submission files, right, in order to do that. But in most of the times, I will only have one. But there was some times that if I have, I will do it.
Okay. So I'd also now would like to talk about your role at H2O. Can you tell us what tasks are you working on, and do you think driverless AI, now it has image support, can it beat you in a computer vision competition?
Yeah, I'm a data scientist at H2O.ai. So um, during the last period, last couple of months, I spend most of the time in Kaggle competitions. So yeah, I'm gradually starting to help some development work on automatic computer vision also. And yeah, it's the new computer vision model, automatic computer vision model, was developed by our computer vision expert and also Kaggle grandmasters and our great software teams. And it has very good performance on general computer vision problems. For competitions, we often meet very special data. So the short answer, you want to know if I will be beaten by driverless AI. For the shoutouts, maybe it's not easy to beat me with auto machine learning. But yeah, maybe one day. I think we are improving, keep improving the automatic machine learning tools. So maybe one day.
Do you think we have many great Kagglers, many in the top 10? Was that one of the reasons that pushed you to become number one? Was that one of the motivations for you?
Not really, to be honest. Sorry, it's just yeah. I had this goal to get number one. I think more than 1 year ago. So
Okay.
before I joined H2O. So yeah, it was. I don't know how to say it was my goal a long time ago.
I see. So in general, outside of Kaggle, what other tasks occupy your role, and what tasks do you contribute to at H2?
uh, like I said, for last couple of months, I mainly focus on competitions, and I'm working on I'm now working on some development in computer vision, automatic computer vision projects.
Okay. So this is I have a special rapid fire round for you, but before I start with that, if you were to share one best advice for someone who's just starting Kaggle, what would be your advice to them?
Uh, okay, someone who it depends on if he has um, prior knowledge in machine learning, predictive modeling or not. Because for me, when I started Kaggle, I already have 4 or 5 years experience. So I was a beginner at that time on Kaggle, but I was not a beginner in machine learning. So if someone just started Kaggle with some experience, he can just compete there, I think, and learning from the solutions and keep improving. I believe so. So for someone who is totally newbie in machine learning or just started machine learning or data science, whatever, maybe taking some courses on machine learning first, because the on Kaggle we are applying machine learning and we need some basic knowledge on machine learning to actually learn stuff. Because without this knowledge, it's like you everything you see is like a new world. So you always you will be falling in the trap of learning this technique, learning that technique without
Yes.
understanding why it works in what situation it works. And for these, you need to go back to the basics of machine learning to get understanding. And I think Kaggle competitions more than the textbook or machine learning courses, because it breaks a lot of, in real data, breaks a lot of assumptions about machine learning or statistical modeling. But you still need to understand the basic of it to see what is difference from the competition goal and the basic of machine learning. So then you will know, you will gradually understand how to do the modeling and how to do the effective validation, and what can you learn. Maybe you can learn from learn better from the other solutions, because you need some basic knowledge. So my suggestion for a total beginner is to spend maybe half time on Kaggle, half your time on learning the basic stuff, machine learning.
Okay. So now I have a rapid fire of I think 5 or 6 questions for you. I'll start with the first question, which is what would be your favorite competition of all time?
Favorite competition? I think the natural language processing, the TensorFlow question answering competition that I won was my favorite competition. It was an interesting topic, and I started actually about maybe 6 weeks before the end of the competition, and I was only able to submit my solutions about 1 week before the end of the competition. I mean, because I spent quite some time understanding the data and understanding the topic, and this was my first time doing question answering, and I came up with a unique solution, I believe, different from the literature from other competitors, and I spent quite some time making things work, writing code and do validation. That I was so busy at the time that I don't even have time to, because that was a kernel competition. I need to write a test prediction code for that. I didn't even have time to write that test code. So I only submit about 1 week before the end of the competition, and I was extremely satisfied that my solution could win the competition.
Okay. Favorite competition that you didn't take part in, or something that you really wish you had taken part in?
I don't know. Sorry, I don't have the answer. If I don't take part in a competition, there are lots of interesting areas in machine learning, or it's a different topic. For now, I'm mainly entering, natural language processing and computer vision competitions because I have more chance to win. I need more Kaggle points, but yeah, I always want to compete in some new areas, but I can't have time. But it's hard to say which one. But for any competition that with a topic or the format I'm not familiar with, I will be interested.
Okay. So this is sort of a wide question, but your favorite model, your favorite CNN model, or your favorite model architecture?
CNN model, yes, I do have one favorite model, which is the Inception Resident V2.
Okay.
So it was also developed by Google, and about I think about 4 years ago or 5 years ago. It was an old one, and I found it. I started to use it when I was using Keras, and when I later shifted to PyTorch, I still found it very efficient. It trains fast, especially on the using the FP16 or mixed precision, and the performance is good. So for me, it's a great balance between speed and performance.
Okay.
It may not be the best model, but I trust it very well, and I use it very often during the early stage, or it actually often appear in my final model, final winning solutions, I mean.
Okay. Favorite framework?
Deep learning framework?
Yes.
Maybe PyTorch, because I'm using it now.
Okay.
It has more chance to win. It's more flexible. I mean, compare with Keras, and the most flexible is actually Cafe, but you have to. It's not very compatible, and Kaggle it's too low level maybe, and maybe it lacks support these days, and it's better especially for beginners to use the tools that others using, because it will make reproducing others' codes easier. And there's a reason why everyone is using something, right? So yeah, PyTorch, I guess is the most popular deep learning framework on Kaggle. But recently, I think Keras or TensorFlow improve a lot. I haven't got a time to try it.
Okay. Favorite kernel that you have read? You only written one that's public, but a favorite
I don't
kernel.
remember.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't remember the favorite kernel, but yeah, I don't often read kernel very carefully, because sometimes I feel hard to follow others' code. There's so many code there, and what I care about, but I don't misread. I do read kernels, But I spend very limited time. I just briefly browse it to see if there's anything any interesting idea or anything I was missing about the data or some modeling part. But sometimes I will copy some functions from kernels shamelessly. So yeah. But I don't have one favorite kernel. Sorry.
Okay. Now that you are already number one, what's next for you on Kaggle?
I think next for me is to keep it, obviously, and yeah, because there's no number 0. So yeah, next one is to keep it.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much for joining me on the podcast, and huge congratulations again to you. Before we end the call, for anyone from the audience who'd like to connect with you, what would be the best platform? Just Kaggle?
Yeah, Kaggle is maybe the best one because I don't often connect it. So I do this to prevent private sharing. So I don't generally I don't connect on another platform other than Kaggle. Because sometimes if you join a community, you don't want to do private sharing, but sometimes you can prevent it more or less. So I'm trying to avoid it.
Okay. Thanks again for joining me on the podcast and for all of your insights.
Thank you for having me here again.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to give it a review or feel free to shoot me a message. You can find all of the social media links in the description. If you like the show, please subscribe and tune in each week to Chai Time Data Science.